NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring your latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. All right, let's all get ready for the unofficial second half of the season. It's right after the All-Star break. The All-Star festivities were okay. Dinwiddie lost in the first round of the skills contest. Joe Harris put up a decent showing in the three-point contest, but didn't make enough to even make it to the final round. And then the All-Star game itself was actually pretty entertaining in the fourth quarter with the whole new format. And we'll see if they continue to do something like that next year. But overall, the All-Star festivities were solid. I don't even think I really watched the celebrity game. There was like, no, I'm not even going to go into the celebrity game. I mean, there were known celebrities there, but I feel like it was really lacking some stars, I don't know. There was a lot of B-level celebrities in that game, even C-levels, but whatever. We're not even going to talk about that. Let's talk about Nets, all right? Let's talk about the Nets, all right? The last three games before the All-Star break, the Nets went 2-1 with two impressive victories. One against the Pacers on that buzzer beater by Spencer Dinwiddie. It wasn't really a buzzer beater, but it was like a last-second shot, and they beat the Pacers by one. And then a great win against the Raptors, ending the Raptors' winning streak. That's fantastic. And I said going into this stretch of games that they had to win two of the next four since my last episode. And right now, they already won two of the last three. So they're already there. Whether or not they beat the 76ers or not, they're doing what I'm hoping for them to do moving forward. So they have the 76ers coming up Thursday night, national television. We'll see what happens. But this team is starting to regain an identity again. It seems like they lose their identity every time a player comes back from injury, right? Kyrie Irving and the team started, and they couldn't really figure it out. And then Kyrie Irving goes down. Kyrie Irving goes down with the shoulder injury, and then they kind of figured it out. And then LeVert goes down, and then Dinwiddie did the best they can. Then Kyrie comes back, and then LeVert comes back, and they're trying to figure it out again. Then Kyrie comes back trying to figure it out. Now Kyrie goes down again, and now LeVert is figuring it out, and LeVert's playing well, and now they're kind of figuring it out. It's just a constant cycle of injuries. And, of course, sprinkled throughout all that was still Wilson Chandler missing 25 games, Garrett Temple missing some games, DeAndre Jordan with a dislocated finger. Like, it's just so hard to really get a good understanding of what this team is. And, look, at the record that they're at, which is 25-28. At 25-28, they're in a decent situation to continue to get over 500, as well as build and maybe, I don't want to say they could get to the 6th seed, but the Pacers are reeling right now. They haven't been able to figure it out since Oladipo came back, and maybe they could get to the 6th seed, but I don't really know. Right now, I just want them to continue to separate themselves from the rest of the pack and really solidify themselves in the playoffs and get as close as they can to those 45 wins that I want them to get. But right now, I just really want them to just separate themselves from the rest of the league or the rest of the teams behind them and get over 500. That's the first thing. I want them to get over 500. And over the next stretch of games, I believe they should be able to do that. Kyrie Irving, the latest word on him is that his knee is almost completely better, but now his shoulder's bothering him again, and they don't know what the hell's going on with it. So, look, this is one of the most frustrating situations in the world because it seems like every time it looks like the Nets are going to get fully healthy and they're going to become good and we can figure it out, Kyrie Irving or someone else has a setback with an injury. And this is really bad because if his shoulder is really bothering him, there's a very good chance that they're just going to shut him down for the year. And I know that Kenny Atkinson didn't want to say whether or not that was going to happen, but I think there's a very good chance. Because remember, it's not about this year, it's about next year. So I can really see the Nets saying, hey, Kyrie, get the surgery now, get it in shape, get ready to go, and next season when you and Durant come back, we're gonna run with it. But I really don't want that. And the truth is, I want to see what this team is capable of with the three guards that they have: Kyrie Irving, Dinwiddie, and LeVert. Because right, like I said in my last NetsBoy, it doesn't look like this three guard, ball dominant guards work. Like this three guard rotation does not seem to work with the Nets right now. But I think a lot of it is just the fact that they haven't played enough together. But at the same time, if it's not going to work, we don't want to keep it, right? Like, and I've said this before, I don't want any of those guys to get traded, Dinwiddie or LeVert, because they're not going to trade Kyrie. I don't want to see those guys get traded. I like them both from the Nets, but I don't believe the three guard rotation is going to work. And the only way that it will work is if they get a chance now, this year, to get all three of them out there and playing relatively consistent minutes. Like, to me, that's what this rest of this year is about, is to get Kyrie out there and see what this three guard rotation does. Because Kevin Durant, he's interesting because he's a go-to scorer and he's a go-to guy and all this stuff, but he's not a ball dominant player. And what do I mean by that? He doesn't need to have the ball in his hands 24/7. He can play off the ball. We saw what happened with him and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in Golden State, right? Like Steph Curry had the ball in his hands a majority of the time, and when he didn't, he played off the ball with Kevin Durant, and Durant had the ball in his hands. But Durant could play off the ball and be just as efficient and as great of a player than having the ball in his hands. He's just one of those players that, like, you throw him into the mix that I just don't see an issue with the chemistry of the team. I do see an issue, though, when you have three ball-dominant point guards or guards that are the most effective with the ball in their hands, like Dinwiddie, LeVert, and Kyrie. And I said this before. It's not that I'm saying those guys are only effective with the ball in their hands, but they are most efficiently effective with the ball in their hands. All three of those guys are most effective when they have the ball and they're creating for their teams and the offense evolves around them. Their usage rates are high. And that's why I need to see all three guys out there. But now with this Kyrie shoulder thing, it's not going to happen. And who knows? He could be out for the year. And I just don't want to go into next year with barely seeing this team with Kyrie Irving playing, which is what's happening right now. Right now, we're set up to go into next year almost like Kyrie Irving was just newly acquired as well. And you're putting in not just Kevin Durant, but Kyrie Irving as well. And that could be a huge chemistry situation. And the Nets could get off to a terrible start next year while they're trying to figure that out because they weren't able to build the chemistry now. So, I don't know. I really hope Kyrie's shoulder injury is just, I'm hoping he can get another cortisone shot that will last the rest of the year. I'm hoping, and that, and he's willing to do that. And then over the offseason get the shoulder surgery because it's rough. This guy, he can never stay healthy, and I just want to see him out there. I want to see him with this team. But the good news is the Nets are playing much better right now, and they look good, and that's the positive of it. Is, do they need Kyrie? I mean, Kyrie is obviously a plus, and it's always a benefit to have a player of his magnitude. But right now, the chemistry on the team is pretty good. And LeVert and Dinwiddie have kind of figured out this trend. Taurean Prince has played well. Joe Harris has played well. Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan, they've all looked really sharp, and that's why they were able to beat the Raptors and beat the Pacers. And that's what I'm hoping to see moving forward. So whether or not Kyrie Irving does come back anytime sooner, I still want to see this team continue to develop the chemistry and continue to grow and get a little bit on a hot streak now. And like I said, this is a good stretch of games coming up. Let's take a look at them now. It starts with the really, really tough game, Thursday night national TV, like I said before, against the 76ers in Philadelphia. Look, as long as the Nets put up a great effort and look competitive in that game, I'll be okay with whatever the outcome is. Because they already won 2 of the last 3 games, and so they are going to go 2-4. If they can somehow win that game, which, by the way, the 76ers have lost like 2 games all year at home. If they can somehow win that game, it'll be amazing, and I'll be super pumped about it. That being said, I don't expect the Nets to win that game. However, after that, they have the Hornets, the Magic, the Wizards, and the Hawks. Those are 4 very much so winnable games for the Nets. Like, all 4 of those teams, the Nets are better than in the standings. And all four of those teams, I expect them to beat. I know they lost to the Wizards most recently. That was the game Kyrie Irving got hurt. But I still think they should win that game. Same thing with the Magic, the Hornets, the Hawks. Like, they should win those 4 games. So even if they lose against the 76ers, I believe they should win the next 4 games. And if they do that, they will be 500 going into the final stretch of games. And then who knows? Maybe they can go on a nice little winning streak and continue to build. And who knows what could happen? The stretch after that is not the easiest, but I really do believe this Nets team is capable of beating anyone on any given night, except for maybe 3 teams. There's 3 teams that I believe the Nets will probably not be able to beat, especially unless they have Kyrie Irving. Without Kyrie Irving, the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Clippers. Those are the 3 teams in the league that I think the Nets cannot beat unless they have Kyrie Irving. I just feel like those 3 teams are at a whole other level. But I feel like the rest of the teams in the league, despite what their records are, I think the Nets are capable of beating on any given night. I think they could beat. We saw them beat the Raptors. We saw them beat the Heat. We saw them beat the Celtics, I believe, earlier this year. So we know they can beat the rest of the team, the elite teams in the Eastern Conference. We saw them beat the 76ers. We saw them beat the Pacers. So they've beaten these teams. And then in the West, I really think they could beat, 1 game against the Jazz, because they almost did that. They almost beat the Nuggets. They have already beaten the Rockets. So you see what I'm trying to say? I just feel like that those are the only 3 teams that they can't beat. So maybe they can go on a run here. We'll see what happens. So there you have it. That's what I think about going into the second half of the season. Mostly I just want to see how well is this team going to continue to develop. I want to see what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving. I hope he can come back sooner rather than later. I want to see the 3-guard set to really figure out if it's going to be good or not. Which, by the way, I do want to say, I'll leave you with this, because this popped into my head, and I want to know what some people think about it. Because obviously the Nets made no moves at the trade deadline and so on and so forth. But what popped into my head was, what if the Nets do decide to make a trade over the offseason? I know we're getting so far ahead of ourselves, but this popped into my head. Say this 3-guard set doesn't work with Kyrie, Dinwiddie, and LeVert. What should the Nets do? And a trade popped in my head, and I really would love to see this. I would trade Spencer Dinwiddie, which I love. I love Spencer Dinwiddie. But I feel like at this point, he's the most likely to be traded. I think the Nets really like LeVert, and I don't know. They could trade LeVert as well, but I think LeVert has a little bit more upside than Dinwiddie, so I could survive without Dinwiddie. I would trade Spencer Dinwiddie and Taurean Prince and to the Spurs for Patty Mills and Rudy Gay. And it works contractually. I looked it up. It will work financially. And I'm just thinking to myself, I said, that to me would be a great move for the Nets over the offseason. Because Patty Mills is a point guard who does not need the ball in his hands. He can play off the ball. Heck, he's probably more effective off the ball, but he's still a point guard. He can still bring up the ball. And by the way, you saw it. He gets hot. He gets hot. And he fits right in the Nets system with being able to shoot the 3-point shot and running an efficient offense. And then Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay is just one of those solid NBA veteran players who can. He can be the backup power forward. He can come off the bench as a backup power forward, or he can play him alongside with Kevin Durant. He's long. He's a good defensive player. He can hit the 3-point shot. He can post up. He's just a really good player. He's not the star that he once was, or the all-star. He was never really a star player, but he was an all-star caliber player. He's not the all-star he once was, but he's still a really good rotational player. I think I would love to see that move. I would love to see the Nets do that over the offseason. And I think that if the Nets do that, they now solve that 3 dominant guard set, because you can have Kyrie Irving and LeVert playing, with Patty Mills in the second unit of some sort. And then you got the adequate bench veteran in Rudy Gay to play next to Kevin Durant or behind Kevin Durant. I just think it's a win. I would love to see the Nets do that move. But anyway, that is so far in the future. I don't even know if it's even going to be a thought for anybody, but that just popped in my head. So anyway, let me know what you guys all think about anything, the All-Star festivities, the Kyrie Irving shoulder thing, the three-guard rotation, the upcoming game is against the Nets, including the 76ers game, what you think they can do moving forward. And let me know if you think that's a good trade, because I think it is. I think it's a fair trade for both sides, right? The Spurs are getting a player that they can continue to build around while being extremely competitive with Spencer Dinwiddie, and Torian Prince is relatively young. And the Nets get two really good veterans who can really contribute well to the team. You know, I think it's a win-win. I think the only negative to it is that the Spurs are actually acquiring more contracts, like because Mills and Gay both will have expiring contracts next year, and obviously Dinwiddie and Prince are signed through the next couple years. So that would be the only reason why the Spurs maybe wouldn't do it, is the thing saying to themselves, why do we want to bring in more money when we can shed this money? But maybe the Spurs look at it as two relatively young players. You know, Dinwiddie's going to be 27 next year, and Torian Prince is going to be 25. So maybe they say to themselves, hey, we got two good young players that we could try to build and compete. And that's a pretty good backcourt of DeMar DeRozan and Spencer Dinwiddie. I just want to point that out. But anyway, completely irrelevant and got sidetracked again. Let me know what you guys think, and let's keep your eyes open to the next NetsBoy episode. Until then, this is NetsBoy, signing off. When the Nets just can't